if this goes on for much longer and prices go much higher, then we'll feel that much more. And of course, I'm talking about aggregate inflation numbers. We're very well aware that people are experiencing higher gas prices all over the country now, and that hurts. Those hikes may continue to happen. And other things are going to start to reflect airline fares I've mentioned and other products and services that are dependent upon petroleum and derivatives of petroleum. People are going to start to feel that. You just have to find that out empirically. Given the fact that we're, a big exporter of energy and that our economy is far less energy intensive, oil intensive than it was during the 70s, the effects on the United States are really substantially less than those of Western Europe or Asia, who are feeling much greater effects from these things.
The cost of living in this country is currently, it's not going to be, it is currently unsustainable. And there are people that they know this, but then they'll still look at somebody else that's struggling and then tell them they're not doing good enough. I want you to imagine somebody that makes $75,000 a year. That's a pretty high up wage in terms of like top earners in this country, $75,000 a year. And we're going to go through some things here. This is a person with no debt outside of a car. And please don't hit me with the, you can go buy a car for, shut up, you can't, shut up, stop saying ridiculous things. An entry-level decent car is $30,000. So this person who puts $200 a month into insurance and they pay 5% into their 401k because shut up, people should be able to put money into their retirement. Because if you're not doing it now, you're never going to get to start doing it later. So after those two things come out of their paycheck, and their taxes are paid, they bring home $53,850 a year from a $75,000 paycheck. Average rent in my state for a one-bedroom apartment, because an adult should be able to live by themselves, $1,700. That car payment at 6% for an entry-level, very reasonable sedan, nothing fancy, that car payment's $579 a month. Car insurance, $240 or so a month for a lot of vehicles in this day and age. You're a young person, you've got a nice job, but the insurance companies still want to screw you over. Food. You only cook at home. You never, ever go out. You only cook at home and you only eat decent quality food because a human being should be allowed to eat decent quality food. You pay $879 a month for that. You spend $250 a month in gas. You wear and tear on your car $100 a month. $80 for your phone, $80 for your internet, $175 a month for your electricity, $70 for your water, $20 for your cash. You make $75,000 a year, and outside of a car payment, you have zero debt. Do you know how much money you have left over annually at a $75,000 wage? You do nothing. You don't own a Netflix. You don't go out on a date. You don't pay to go to a park. You don't go watch a movie. You do nothing. If you can't find it on the internet for free, you don't get to do it. If you can't cook it at home for your $800, you don't get to do it. You have $3,700 left over annually. That's like $320 a month. And there's going to be, well, that's $300. Shut up. Shut your stupid, contrarian, edgelord mouth. That's not a doctor bill, because God knows just because we have insurance doesn't mean that we don't still pay far out the ass when we go to the doctors. People like to be entertained. They want to date. They want to... There's those of you out there that will tell somebody living like this on $75,000 a year before taxes that they are not doing what they're supposed to do, that they should get a second job, that they should get a side hustle, that they should get a better job. And the fact that you would look at somebody with no debt other than a car and say something like this to them means objectively you're a moron and you live in a fantasy world. This is unsustainable.
It's not the overspending, it's the cost of living. Here is a breakdown of the average Gen Z and millennials' cost of living in today's world. So number one is rent. Everyone knows that Gen Z and millennials have to have a roommate. So splitting a 2-bedroom apartment with utilities is around $1,500. If you have a car, a $12,000 to $15,000 used car is still going to run you $400 a month. Car insurance and gas is another $300. Student loan payment, $500. You're going to have groceries for $500. You're going to have personal care, doctor's appointments, hair, gym, about $150, and then cell phone and miscellaneous $150. That's $3,500 a month, which is baseline. Do you know how much $3,500 a month is? $70,000 a year, or $34 an hour. Because after you take out taxes, put $300 for health insurance, and do a healthy $500 401k contribution, that leaves you with $3,500. This is no fun, no savings, no maintenance, no clothes, no kids, no traveling, no vacations, no bachelor parties, no weddings, no funerals, no clothes, no school supplies, nothing. And this is paycheck to paycheck. And on top of it, they're holding $40,000 of student loan debt, a $15,000 car, and if they ever wanted to buy a house with closing costs and the down payments, another $50,000. So they need $105,000. So even if they were somehow able to scrounge up after $70,000 of paycheck to paycheck, $5,000 to go to a concert, to have avocado toast, whatever it is, $5,000 a year, it would take them 20 years to pay off this debt and save up for a house. 20 years of living with the roommate where that rent's going up, and they're making $70,000 a year as a college graduate. The average person in this country makes $50,000. It is not the overspending. It is a cost of living crisis.
It is insane to me how many of our friends have these lavish vacations, will do crazy landscaping, crazy home remodels, date night every weekend, paying for a sitter, going to trendy restaurants. You can't have a nice dinner in Austin with like a couple drinks that's under $400 at like a trendy restaurant. And I'm like, where are they getting the money from? And then once in a while, after a few drinks, you come to find out that your friends laugh at you when you talk about retirement because they have none. They have nothing saved. They have no savings. They're leveraged to the hilt. They all have loans that they took out for all of these remodels or vacations or plastic surgery. Like, they are all living in debt. And I don't understand. Like, I would die. The financial stress that I would feel every night, going to bed every night, if we had that type of debt, would kill me. My husband and I both work good jobs, and we work our asses off, and we pack our lunches every day for work to save money, and we're frugal in a lot of other areas, so like we can indulge with travel and stuff, but we would never go into debt to do some of these things.
Why the fuck is gas $4.29 for regular? $4.29 for regular. I live in Ohio. I'm trying not to holler because I'm sitting outside. You know, I am a porch dweller. I don't want the neighbors looking at me crazy. This is the thing. If the prices of gas are going to be astronomically through the roof, then I might as well live in California. It cost me $7 to get a bag of fucking chips. It cost me $10 to get a pack of fucking soda, okay? And now gas is $4.29. If my prices are going to be this high, then I might as well move back to California, because at least I can have beautiful weather and lots of free shit to do. The point of me living here in Southwest Ohio and Cincinnati, I love you, like there's nothing against fucking Ohio. I love it here. But the point of living here is so that I can do everything else I want to do, because the cost of living is so fucking low. But the cost of living is not low here. The cost of living here is not low anymore. The cost of living, maybe nowhere, is low. And normally I don't really give a fuck. Cause what I'm gonna do, not put gas in my car? The cost of gas doesn't matter. I still gotta put gas in the car. But it's looking very much like I'm not putting gas in the car. My Kroger points aren't doing a damn thing. My little dollar off is I feel $4.29, and then I used my 7 cents off at the pump because I didn't have time to go to Kroger because I had so little gas I couldn't even go to Kroger. I had to go to the Speedway. I used my 7 cents off. It cost me $70 to fill up my car in regular. That'll make no damn sense. That'll make... And before you say, because I feel like it's coming, before you say, Kendra, every time you leave the house, you're throwing shit in the bag, you're throwing shit in the cart, blah, 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 blah. Yes, that's why I live here. I live here so that when I go to the store, I can just, I don't have to think about it. Because my cost of living is so low. My cost of living is so low. And I used to say, every time I leave the house, it costs me $100. It cost me $100 to stay in the house. It cost me $100 to get to school and back. To drop my kids up. $4.29?
I went to Hannaford a couple days ago on Sunday and filled up one of those reusable shopping bags full of groceries. And that was $95. $95 for one of those bags and a couple jugs of water. Enough for one dinner Sunday night and a few snack items. $95. I have to go back today to get food for the rest of the week and can't imagine how much that's going to be. If you were to earn a few extra $100 a month, what would you put that towards? Would you put that towards groceries for your family? Would you put that towards gas, a bill? Let me know.
This, a couple of weeks ago, We had it on for 75 cents for a 2-pound bag of onions. We just got a shipment in. We had to raise it to $1.
Food Fair owner Munther Zaid says shippers and suppliers are adding fuel surcharges, forcing him to pass those costs on. The fuel crisis from the Middle East war is driving food prices higher, starting with imported produce and some meat and dairy.
The fresh stuff is where you're going to see the immediate impact.
It's becoming more expensive for trucking companies to transport goods, with the price of diesel jumping 40% since the war began. That's rippling through the food supply chain to grocers.
We're now at the point where we can't hold off any longer, and what consumers are seeing at the fuel pump is what the grocers are seeing at their back doors.
And shoppers in rural and remote communities will feel the squeeze even more.
We should anticipate that there's going to be an increase in food inflation in the months ahead. You just have to be transparent and honest about that. There's just no magic bullet that can erase that from happening.
Though experts say with Canada's growing season around the corner, buying local seasonal produce could provide a buffer for grocery budgets.
As we get into the spring, our fresh fruits and vegetables aren't coming from as far away, and so the freight impact will not be as profound.
The affordability crisis is not a hoax. The average cost of utilities in the United States is $600 a month now. And in 2025, energy prices were going up nearly twice as fast as inflation. That spike in energy bills is being driven by soaring demand, an outdated grid, and renewable energy growth that's being blocked by recent policy. Those soaring energy costs are a huge problem, especially when 40% of senior citizens are living off of fixed income sources like Social Security that averages like $2,000 a month. How are you paying a $600 utility bill out of that? And the federal minimum wage hasn't even raised since 2009. We need lawmakers to do something to help Americans. And here's the good news. There is hope. Maybe the Energy Bills Relief Act would help lower electricity bills by working to increase renewable sources, which are the most affordable, reliable, and the fastest energy sources. It aims to not only lower prices, but to provide assistance to millions of households and to protect families from shutoffs and restore the tax credits for renewables that were revoked in 2025 and to prevent politicians from messing with energy initiatives in the future. It also has measures to improve the grid and bring it up to like this century. I mean, imagine that. A forward-thinking plan.
I am so tired of living my life in survival mode because despite having 2 college degrees and making close to $80,000 a year, I still cannot keep up with the cost of living. I still cannot afford all of my bills every month and have to live paycheck to paycheck. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I am sacrificing my mental health, my time, and my energy to take care of people in their most vulnerable moments, and a lot of the time they do not make it. At the very least, I should be able to pay my bills. And for anyone who's thinking, oh, well, you shouldn't have chose that job, somebody has to do it. And you know damn well, if your loved one was critically ill, you would want somebody to take care of them, right? Something has to give. I cannot keep doing this.
Me and my wife are slightly above the poverty line, and I'm going to teach you exactly how we manage to pay our bills and to keep a savings account. I have 2 jobs. My wife has 1 job. She makes $1,000 every other week, and I make about $400 to $500 every week. We typically sit around $3,200 a monthly total. Our rent is $1,260 plus a $3 processing fee. So I go to the food bank twice a month. I also buy foods that are supposed to stretch, like rice and beans. One of my biggest tips is get all the beans. And yes, they're dried because it's cheaper to buy dried beans. So I get all of my beans and I mix them together and I make soup beans probably about once a month. It's a really good filler and extremely cheap to make. Another tip is you can prepare lentils the night before, make some ground beef, throw some lentils in there, and it'll definitely make your meat stretch. Of course, the food bank is a giant help. It doesn't cover all of our needs. We typically end up spending about $200 to $600 just depending on what we were able to get from the food bank. Sometimes, unfortunately, you will get an entire box of food and all of it is rotten. There is no sense in paying late fees. Move your due date of your bills around to fit your paychecks. I do that for every single bill. They're scattered throughout the month so that I can afford everything. So now let's go down to our monthly bills. I also never throw anything away. I will post it on Facebook Marketplace and sell it for $2 before I throw something away. I also want to say the last thing we did that has actually helped us move into a savings account is not really not getting those little drinks or not eating out here and there. The biggest thing is we went through all of our bills that we had and we found different companies with promotions for literally the same thing. So we went from Geico from like $250 a month to $97 at Liberty Mutual. I also have a food bank playlist of where I show you what I got from the food bank, and I also show you what I made from the food bank. So go ahead and give me a follow, watch my playlist, and stick around.
So I saw this guy talk about like the cost of living and how he just can't afford to live, and I feel like I need to talk about like how bad I think it's gotten in the US, because I think it's gotten really, really bad. Like, we know it's bad, but it's bad. So 5 years ago in 2020, I graduated from college, and I had a job offer within like 3-4 weeks after graduating college. And I moved to downtown Dallas at the time, and I lived in a studio apartment, and I believe it was like $905 a month. Had a view of downtown. It wasn't in the best part. Botman Jean unfortunately did get murdered there, but it was a really affordable apartment, and I made about $40,000 a year, so I could afford it, and it was great. I went and I looked back, and the studios that I lived in are now almost double what I paid, which is insane to me. Also, when I was in college, I always got groceries at Aldi's, and I could get meat and everything I needed for 1 week for one person. It was about $45 to $50 US. I went to Aldi's a couple days ago, bought groceries for me and my partner, and excluding meat, because I buy my meat from a local farm, so just getting like fruits, vegetables, and like crackers. We don't really get snacks, and like grains and stuff like that. It ended up being about $100. Obviously I spent the majority of my 20s living in the EU, and I've only lived back in the US for 1 year, but I can just say that I think it's gotten extremely expensive. 40K a year would have been a really, really good salary 5 years ago, in a low cost of living area, but it's not. I bought my house last July, and if I were to buy my house again, for example, I could not afford it. They built an apartment complex that you can rent right next to my building. I Googled how much people are paying to rent in these apartments, similar floorage. Honestly, part of it's a basement unit, and it is about like $500 to $600 more than my mortgage. They're also building $1 million townhouses 2 blocks away from the street that I live in. I literally could not afford, aside from like losing my job and all those other variables, I literally could not afford to buy my house again. And if it wasn't for the property taxes that I don't pay property taxes, I would not be able to own a house. But yeah, it's really, really jarring to see how expensive it's gotten, and how devastating it is. And I'm always really grateful I don't have kids, because imagine you're a family of 4 and you have to feed 4 people and you don't make even $100,000 a year. Like, it is insane. And then housing is $2,500. I went looking because I wanted to move to a different part of the city, rent out my condo, and then rent some part in the city, thinking it might be cheaper. I toured a bunch of apartments. You are getting less space. You're getting you're paying $2,500, maybe $2,800 for a studio in Philadelphia. Obviously, if you're from New York, it's not that bad, but it's pretty expensive for locals here, especially given the median wage is not that high. It's insane. It's extremely expensive. If you are feeling the pressure and the heat of the rising cost of living, you're not alone. Even high earners are coming out and saying it's extremely expensive. Money is not going as far as it used to.
I know that I can't really expect cheap groceries at this store, but do you want to see what $108 worth of groceries looks like here at the end of March in 2026 in California from Safeway? $108.73. Here you go. I'm going to show you. That's it. That's everything. That's $108 worth of groceries. 1 bag, 1 jug of milk.
Now, I've personally never been to a Safeway. I haven't seen it. Maybe it's just a West Coast thing. I don't know if there's some sort of a Whole Food equivalent, but we could go on to the next clip with a chain that's supposed to have the cheapest prices around.
Today I was planning to make a fun What's New at Dollar Tree video, but the first thing I saw stopped me in my tracks. Groceries are a minimum of $1.50 now. I definitely don't live under a rock, so I know that prices everywhere are and have been going up. But usually when prices go up, you kind of expect something to come with it. New products, bigger sizes, maybe even a little better quality. So I walked around to see what was new, and there were a couple of interesting things here and there, but overall, it mostly felt like the same inventory, just with higher prices. And honestly, some of those things were already pushing it at $1.25.
They need to stop calling themselves Dollar Tree, maybe once a Dollar Tree. Cans being $1.50 is insane because at Kroger's and Aldi, most canned goods are cheaper than that. And I do remember watching a video a long time ago where somebody went over the math shopping at places like Dollar Tree compared to like Target or Walmart, and you were actually paying more money at Dollar Tree because you were getting a smaller amount compared to the other stores. And now it seems like it's getting even worse.
60% of the American public is about to lose everything they have. People living paycheck to paycheck are about to go broke. The GDP numbers came in yesterday, and of course the economy receded, which I predicted 2 months ago, and people laughed. Mark my words, the second quarter is going to be far worse. Tariffs on Chinese products at 145% are about to kick in, which means everything you buy from China on Amazon or elsewhere is about to go through the roof. Grocery store shelves are starting to empty at Walmarts across the country, and of course grocery prices continue to soar. People who have been financing groceries on credit are starting to default on those payments. We are about to see an economic catastrophe. If you're in this 60% that has little or no money, please stop spending money. Protect your family. Trump does not care about you. Even if you voted for him, he's a billionaire. He won't suffer, but you and your family will. Please protect yourself. 60% of the American public is about to lose everything they have. People living paycheck to paycheck.
What percentage of Americans are actually making six figures based upon their age? Well, a new study from the Labor Bureau Statistics just came out, and here's what they said. If you are 55 years old or older, then 16% of your peers are making six figures. If you're 45 to 54, then 20% of your peers, that's 1 in every 5 people, is making six figures. If you're 35 to 44, 25% of Americans your age are making six figures or above. Between the ages of 25 and 34, 18% of Americans are making above six figures. And if you're between the ages of 18 and 24, then 7% of Americans are making six figures. The reason for this is most people cap out making the most of money that they'll ever make in their career between the ages of 35 and 45. And that's why so many people are making six figures at that age. For more news that makes you money, go over and give me a...
What is a livable wage in 2026? Now I'm going to run these numbers for the average person in the country. If you live in the top metro areas, it's probably going to be higher, but I want to use averages here. So let's say that you're a single person and you want to live by yourself. Rent and utilities is going to run you around $1,500 a month. Groceries, $400. A used car, $300. Employee-sponsored health insurance, about $200. Car insurance, $150. $100 for personal care, $100 for gas, $100 for cell phone, and $50 for internet is going to put you at $2,900 a month. My personal opinion is that $2,900 a month is surviving. Now, if you want to go above the $2,900 surviving, getting into livable, I think that would be adding $200 for savings, $200 for investing, and $200 for fun would bump you up to $3,500. Now, this is going to be livable. It's going to give you a little breathing room. You're going to be making progress. You're going to be investing. You're going to be saving. You're going to have a little fun. It's like, okay, this is livable for now. Let me work on thriving in the future, but you're livable. Now, in this example, however, this individual does not have credit card debt, student loan debt, kids, pets. They're not saving for a house. They're not buying luxuries. They are saving $200 a month, but I'm looking more of like emergencies for that, not saving for a big purchase. So what would you have to make in order to be surviving or livable? $15 an hour after taxes, your take-home pay is going to be $22.10. So you are going to be short $690 a month from being surviving. So this individual is probably going to have to work 40 hours a week plus a part-time job and a roommate to alleviate some of that financial pressure. And $15 an hour is more than double the federal minimum wage, and they're still below their survival if they want to live by themselves. Now, if you bump it up to $20 an hour, your take-home pay goes up to $28.80. Now, this is going to put you basically right at surviving, but you're surviving paycheck to paycheck. This is where there's still a lot of stress because you don't have that much savings. You're not really investing and making progress. You're just keeping your head above water. So this individual individual, probably going to need a side hustle and a roommate as well to alleviate some of that financial pressure. Now, if you go to $25 an hour, it bumps up to $35.60 for your take-home pay. This would get you everything on the livable list, again, if you don't have credit cards, student loans, kids, pets, or saving for a house. But this is still going to be livable paycheck to paycheck. You're still saving, you're still investing, you're still having a little fun, but you are paycheck to paycheck. But if you bump it up to $30 an hour, which is $62,400, I would say is the livable wage, because your take-home pay is $42.40. You're well above the $3,500, and you've got about $700 plus in wiggle room. So you can use that to pay down your car. You can use that to start saving for a house or make bigger investments. So I would say as a single person in 2026, $30 an hour is now the livable wage. If you live in a top 40 metro area, it might be as much as $40 or $50 an hour. If you have roommates, if you have a spouse, if you have a partner, then some of this can shift. But this is the cost of living in 2026.